and they had a place on the Powder River. So this land was available to buy. So my dad bought 2 sections, and life was kind of rough. In those days they built these sod houses. No, they built rock houses, and it was put together with sod,
right,
mixed with straw, and the straw would seemed like it would hold the rocks. And he was up on the scaffolding, and my poor mother was down there with a wheelbarrow. She almost leveled a little hill with a wheelbarrow, and she was mixing the straw and the water and putting it in buckets for him to draw up. Oh my God. They built part of the house that was supposed to be a double level house. And the granary, the barn is quite a good sized barn to be built like that.
Oh, I know, anything.
Oh, how hard they worked. No wonder my mother didn't live very long. But anyway, she lived surprisingly long for what she went through.
Right.
And I remember that very vividly. Then later, my brother grew up, and there was no room in the house, so they thought he wanted to be more alone and be his own man. And so they built a log house and put it together. And they had a dirt roof, a lot of branches, tree branches, with a lot of, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah.
What picture you have of it?
And it was rough going. We got mail once a week, and he was also our mayor. He'd sell eggs for us and our cream. That's what we lived on, the eggs and cream. And of course, you get 5 cents a dozen for eggs, 5 cents a loaf for bread. And then when John and I got married, we lived on $5 a week.
Oh, wow.
And I'd have to wheel the baby buggy clear down to South Park, where Stevens was running the store down there. And we didn't have a bank. We didn't have enough money to depend on to have a bank. So he'd loan us money. He was our banker, and he'd just make out a ticket. If and when we had money, we paid it. It wasn't he never billed us for it. And he always got his money somehow, sometime.
Yeah.
What an existence. But I pushed the baby buggy, Rosemary, clear down to the south side with a baby buggy to get my groceries.
Wow.
I can't remember I was ever that strong.
Yeah, that's a long ways away. From here?
Boy.
From here?
Yeah. It's that all comes to me now in my sleep. Well, anyway, what goes from there? Oh, and then when I graduated from the one-room country schoolhouse, we had reading, writing, arithmetic, spelling, and geography. Those teachers had to be on the ball.
Yeah, I imagine.
And they had all those grades every day. And in the 7th and 8th grade, we had state examinations for the country kids. And we had two in the 7th grade and the rest in the 8th grade. And some lady in the neighborhood set us up for the tests. So then after I was through with a grade school education, the folks right in the middle of the Depression were going to let me go to high school. but I had to work from my board and room. Well, a mailman, I worked at their house for board and room and tried to go to high school. So I've got a half a year's high school because the folks couldn't afford to buy even pencils
Right.
or tablet or
Yeah.
let alone tuition. There was no tuition or anything like that.
Right.
So then when I graduated, I went to Miles City and got a job at the hospital
Uh-huh.
and worked in the dining room in the hospital. They had a nurses training school the nuns did at that time in Miles City.
Uh-huh.
And so then I went to Miles City and I got, I think, $20 a month, room and board. But the room was just in the basement there, but it was daylight basement, so it was okay. And we had a room, we danced and we played cards and in those days, dancing was the main thing. Everybody danced. Everybody played cards, knew how to play all the games and everything.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I was at the hospital for, I think, 3 years. I took care of the dining room. I washed all the dishes by hand. The plates, the lady in the kitchen, there was a lady from Ashland that was working off her bill, and so she did all the pots and pans in the kitchen, and we had a main nun that took care of the kitchen part. And I liked it. It was a happy bunch. We met a lot of girls, and, you know, you're happy at that age. What have you got to worry about?
Right.
And I sent $15 home for chicken feed and cow feed, and it was so bad that the cow died, and of course the chickens, they ate the chickens.
Uh-huh.
But I can't tell you how bad the depression was.
Oh, I bet. I bet it was bad.
And the wind blew, you could walk over the top of the fences.
Wow.
Cattle could walk over the top of the fence. It never stopped blowing.
Wow.
They had to have blankets over the windows of the houses.
Now, is this on the Powder River? Where was this?
That was in Miles City,
Oh, that
yeah,
was in
Powder
Miles
River.
City. Powder River. Okay.
But it seemed like people on a farm could get along better than town people because Mother canned everything, and we could eat some wild meat, which was good for us, and she'd mix that with pig and the pork and kind of blended the two. Oh, what we didn't go through. And then what? And then I went to work as a maid for the richest, for fancy. They thought they were pretty fancy compared to Hart Albans. But they thought they were hoity-toities. And she got mad if I bought my clothes anywhere else at Montgomery Ward or Sears. We had a Montgomery Ward. And she'd get mad at me, or she'd let me know. She'd sneak into my closet and found out I bought my coat at Montgomery Ward's instead of at her store. By that time, I was really mad at her. I thought I had friends in Billings, and I asked them, is there any jobs up there? Maid jobs. They'd hire these farm girls because they knew how to work, and they didn't turn any of us down. One came from Winnett, Montana, Margaret Sharkey, and then there's a girl from Red Lodge claimed clear to Miles City to work.
Wow. Wow.
It's just through mouth-to-mouth contact
Yeah.
that we found these jobs, and boy, and the man that later the man that hired and fired at the bank said that any girl that comes from Laurel that is a German Ukrainian, she's got the job. You can depend on her. I'll hire her. She'll be there. He says, I'll train her. I don't care. One girl stayed for 40 years.
Oh, did she? Wow.
She was from, she just had a retirement party a couple of years ago
Wow.
at First Interstate.
Wow.
For 40 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
Says something for the German Ukrainians, but they were really German, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
There was no Russian. When the Tsar married nobility, she sent German people down there to industrialize the country, because it was a very, very, very rich country around Odessa there.
Uh-huh.
And Dad said the wheat would grow as tall as a man. And that's where the German came in. It wasn't Russia. Russia had two classes of people. The songwriters and the songwriters, the uppity up, and the slaves. If you were a slave, you never were anything else. You never had a chance to ever get ahead. But if you were the high class Russian, well,
The workers and the intellects.
the ones with the fancy names and all, they're all
Right.
top level. And that part is interesting because I know that story. And my book in there, has all the history of that time.
Wow.
It's kind of interesting to read some of it.
I'd love to read it. Is that what you wrote down? Your early years?
What's the name of it? You know, the books that they used to sell.
Oh, the encyclopedias?
Now, see, my brain is not working. But it has all the famous of the world.
Uh-huh. The only thing I can think of is the encyclopedias.
Honey,
Do you want me to go get it?
go in and look in the corner